Oh my God, good people, we just got to Fractal. This is very unlike Computex, absolutely incredible setup. This is probably where they do all their photography, and for a good reason, because we have absolutely gorgeous products to show you. Let's start with this gorgeous beauty, the new Era 2. If you guys recall, the original Era kind of fell short in the airflow department. It was absolutely gorgeous. I remember still shooting that case in my studio, and so the new Era 2, you know, Fractal has been doing fantastic work with their ITX releases, you know, the Terra with their beautiful colors, the beautiful wood implementation. And the Era 2 brings the original design of the Era, but mixes in the interior modifications, the wood elements of the Terra, and this is kind of the hybrid of the two line series. And so the Era 2 has lots of beautiful things like the wood element at the top. And my first ask about the wood at the top was, how does this affect the heat? Because I can already feel the exhaust over here. It is treated very well. The steel section at the back is shaped exactly like the wood piece, and therefore it will help reduce any warping, any moisture buildup over time. And throughout their testing, this is the best way to achieve such a beautiful design, and something that will not break over time, something that will last. And I do, if you come over here to notice this very subtle element in the wood at the back here, because this panel is magnetic and it's exactly what you press to release it. I mean, how wonderful and simple is that, right? And huge thanks to our sponsors for making Computex possible: Thermaltake, Antec, Fantex, and Titra. As for the exterior, this thing is gorgeous. The anodized aluminum on the exterior has certain shapes, beautiful ventilation patterns. I love this like slimming aspect over here. So when you're looking at the case from an angle, it doesn't feel so, it doesn't feel like it's a massive thing on your desk, and I love that. It just blends in with the footprint. It will come in 3 colors. So charcoal gray, which is what you see here, is going to have midnight blue and also silver. And if you recall, the Terra, the jade, the slightly greenish earthy tones, which is one of my favorite colors of all time, is very popular. But perhaps on this shape, it's going to be a little too busy, which is why it is not included. But we're told midnight blue, we'll show you later, is absolutely gorgeous. Now, size-wise, it is slightly bigger than the original to support, of course, radiator. So imagine the Terra interior, so the same sandwich style GPU on the side and on all your motherboard and power supply components on the opposite side, but slightly taller to accommodate up to a 280 mm radiator. But depending on the thickness of the radiator, so you have to kind of work within certain specifications, of course, just to make sure that there's enough clearance. So why don't we go ahead and check out the interior, shall we? Now, looking on the interior, let's first get to it. We push on this magnetic top panel that's removable. Then we have something what Fractal Design calls integrated or engineering integration features. So we have this little dust filter at the back with a lock sign. You pull it out, and when it's pulled out this way, we can slide off this entire exterior shell. And this is plastic on plastic rails, so we're not grinding any metal stuff, we're not shaving anything, so this is way easier. You can even hear there was no resistance. This is almost a unibody shell, but with some separated pieces. And now we can just push this back for now. And this, my friends, is a very familiar shell. There are a few upgrades over here. So first of all, we have an SSD caddy right in the GPU chamber for 2 SSDs, which is nice utilization of space. We have 2 120mm fans included, which are intake, of course. Then on this opposite side, we have included PCIe Gen 4 riser cable, very standard stuff, and the SFX or SFXL power supply integration. Now, the shell, of course, is higher, so it will support 280 or 240mm radiator, and the GPUs up to 3 26mm in length and 3 PCIe slots. You can see the width. Now, like on the Terra, we have 3 locations. They are labeled, but the middle spine can move in free form. So you can either allocate slightly more width for the GPU section or for the CPU cooler area. And I think people love that from the Terra, just give you more flexibility. You're not stuck to having a certain amount of limitations on the CPU side versus the GPU chamber. Now, the top panel, I'm told, is all removable for easy access, but I'm looking over here and it's rivets, but then there's that engineering integration features. So it looks like we have to pull on these tabs. Let's see, we can do this live. Oh, it just comes up? No freaking way. This is awesome. And now you can just install your radiator or fans, or just either have really easy access to install your motherboard, and especially routing the riser cable, for example. You know, if it gets out of this spot, it's a little tricky when everything else is loaded. So the new Era, man, what a difference versus the original. So not only are they covering the airflow aspect of things with the two integrated fans, and also let's just see how beautiful and fine performance mesh filter that is. That is also curved. Are you noticing this? Like the actual plastic is curved. Is that by design? Yes. It is by design. You see that, right? That's awesome. And yeah, I'm guessing, yeah, actually that's very good, because if we look at the bottom over here, Eber, check this out. It's not just flat. So of course we have additional clearance for those fans to properly breathe. And of course the fans that come in here can be daisy chained together, so you don't utilize two fan slots on your precious ITX motherboard, but it's a single one. And look how fast it is to put everything back together. We go like this. Yeah, so the arrows are pointing to the front. Boom, we put this beautiful shell back together. Let's see how smooth that slides in. That's very nice. So I have to unlatch the filter, put that back in. Boom, boom. Wow, man, that's gorgeous. And check this out. For size reference, here's Dmitry, and here's the Era 2. I love it. Plus the I/O over here is very nicely clean, integrated. The power button is illuminated. Dual USB-A's, USB-C, and your combo audio jacks. I mean, branding over here, you can tell it's a Fractal design case, partially by the wood and partially by very clean integrated logos on the side, at the back, and in the wood at the top. So we saw the silver, we saw the gray, and this is the blue. And yes, it is absolutely gorgeous. At certain angles, it lights up and it really truly reveals the anodized finish. Wow. I can see how the green, the jade would look a little too busy in this color. And look at that beautiful color combination with the American walnut at the top versus the colored case. This is, yeah, this is exactly how you do things. Now, price-wise, if you recall, the Terra is $179, and everyone was complaining like, hold on a second, it's gorgeous, we got wood, but where's my radiator support? That's where the Terra or the Era 2 comes in, and the price for this one is $199. So actually very competitive in the ITX space, considering how premium this thing feels and looks at the same time. Launch will be sometime in Q3, and if you're wondering about the literage, the literage of the size, it's 18.9 liters. Literage is a word, right? Now, aside from this gorgeous Era, there's another case. There's this beautiful space, and I absolutely love their naming scheme. Meet the new Fractal Mood. The basic premise behind this enclosure is the interior is very similar to what we saw with the Era 2, but now it's in a chimney form factor, and the fabric exterior, which is really easy to integrate in your home. It's a very beautiful and clean design like the Ridge was, and that's exactly why the Ridge was so popular, the Ridge ITX. And now it just it doesn't occupy that much room in terms of footprint, and the fabric they've done some good research in terms of making sure that it has good opacity, it has good permeability for airflow, and also good durability. So in case you come by and like accidentally nick it, it's not going to rip. And to the touch, it feels nice. I can actually feel some airflow coming through over there. And because it's a chimney layout, we have a 180mm fan at the top that is their PWM dynamic fan, spins at a maximum 1200 RPM, which I would say is plenty. And it's actually taken directly from their Torrent series, and is going to help drastically with airflow. There's going to be a radiator at the front here up to a 280, and GPU on the opposite side. These sides here on the left and right are completely closed. So even though we have the fabric, which is nice actually, so you don't have the, some opacity coming through the front and the back, but the fabric does breathe, so don't worry. But the sides are completely closed to help with airflow. I love the design of this thing. It's gonna come in gray, which is what you see here, and the black, again with that texture differences between the fabric and the plastic elements. So let's go check out the interior, shall we? Now for the mood enclosure, they're trying to follow in the footsteps of the Era 2 in the integrated engineering features. So at the back here, if I remove the back ventilated mesh panel, I can just slide this whole thing forward or up. Again, it's on plastic rails, so nothing is grinding. This is almost a unishell, and here we can see how the sides are completely solid, right? And we have ventilated mesh where the motherboard and your radiator would go, and this is the GPU side. So there's a built-in dust filter over here. So that's your ventilation. Now for the interior, you can see this is basically a Terra if it was to be like this, perhaps a bit slightly wider. And because it's in a chimney form factor, this is how it stands. And the chimney form factor is normally bigger, right? Because we need extra clearance at the bottom for exiting cables and the standing feet. And now because we have the 180mm fan at the top, that also adds to the height. So if you're scared about, hardware compatibility and they're wondering like why it doesn't support this and that, that's kind of the culprit of trying to fit all the things in the chimney form factor. But I don't mind it. It doesn't seem too big, and also occupies quite a little room on the desk in terms of footprint. So on the interior, kind of a very similar thing. So a GPU form factor for 325mm in length and up to 2 slots. So this one does not have a movable spine, so that's kind of the bigger difference. But on the ITX motherboard side, you can do a CPU cooler up to 110mm in height. So if you want to go all air cooling, there's a possibility. And as for radiator clearance, so here we have our radiator bracket in the ITX motherboard chamber, up to a 280mm rad with probably exhaust fans that would do the trick to remove the heat from the GPU and from the motherboard area as well. As for the interior storage wise, you can mount a 3.5-inch drive or dual SSDs. And I guess the biggest takeaway here is that 180mm fan at the top that will help with cooling. Price wise, for this very beautiful enclosure. So which way is the GPU? So the GPU is facing me, so I have to put this over like that. You're looking at $149. And size wise, it's 20.4 liters in volume. Launch time is in June 18th. So it's actually coming up very quickly. I'm excited to test out the temperatures and just see what the whole experience is like. I feel like the Terra and the Era 2 are slightly more flexible because we have that modular spine, and from just a size perspective, people might assume like, oh, this will support like massive graphics cards, but it is quite limited to 325mm in length and 2 slots. So 2-slot graphics card. So just keep that in mind. It is slightly cheaper, but if you want a little bit more flexibility, the Era 2, man. And good people, Fractal Design is getting into audio. Who knew? NZXT tried it like years ago, and eventually they launched some audio products, and we're told Fractal Design is just trying to venture out into different categories, and just because something looks pretty doesn't mean you have to stop gaming. So that's kind of their motto. So this is the Scape gaming headset. It looks awesome. It's very clean looking. It comes in this light gray and black. We have metal headbands. We have everything feels kind of premium. Memory foam cushions that are removable, and same thing with the headrest. The microphone. At first glance, it kind of drops down here, but look at this. It is a removable microphone, so you can just wear the headset without needing to worry like you're wearing a gaming headset. This thing has Bluetooth 5.3, so multiple devices connectivity at the same time. It has 2.4 gigahertz connection via the base. And look at this, Eber can come in. The actual receiver is stashed at the bottom. So if you don't want to use the charging station with a magnetic attachment for the headset, you can just use the dongle separately. This is an awesome way to stash it if you don't need it, but an easy way to find where it is. Look at this, it just slides in here to magnetically connect and charge. It has built-in microphone as well, in case you remove it, and toggles for Bluetooth versus 2.4 gigahertz connections, and this really cool dial at the back that is also your multi-dial, so not only has a little tactility for volume, but you can click it for pausing and resuming tracks, double-clicking for doing other media controls, accepting phone calls, and etc. The Scape, I'm excited to see what type of audio experience you can have this in a gaming environment. The expected price point is $199 and does have some ambient lighting features built in with a dedicated button. So if you want to preserve some battery life, you can turn it off completely. And we also have a button for 3 profiles. So the whole idea is that they try to move away from needing software, and it will have a web-based application to configure your EQ profiles, to maybe configure lighting, etc. And that is a really, I would say, very handy feature to have and not really found on the gaming headset normally. The drivers are 40mm and they're custom tuned in Sweden, and I do appreciate the really comfortable memory foam cushions. excited to try this out actually in a gaming environment. And it doesn't look like a gaming headset at all, so well done, Fractal Design. Now, battery life, we're told, is around 20 hours, but because of the design of the headset and the stand, you're constantly going to be charging this when they're not in use, and therefore it allows for the headset to have a smaller battery, and therefore it's lighter. And it's actually like a really comfortable headset, not just because of the memory cushions, but it's a super light headset, which is nice. And there's no weird, you know, like scratchiness that's happening with this material. And also color-wise, you can see it matches to the Mood enclosure. I really appreciate their color consistency. I mean, look at this zebra. You see, if you have a headset like this at home with the Mood, the next thing we just need is like different color options for the aluminum pieces to match the Era 2, please. Fractal, does that make it happen? Now, aside from the two gorgeous cases we just saw with the Era 2 and the Mood, my God, I love the Mood name. We have the Raspberry Pi case from Fractal Design. This is not official. This is just something they've made up to test out their new Scape headset. And it follows in the footsteps of the North with the beautiful wood pattern in the front. Just wanted to show you this, that Fractal is not afraid of having a little bit of fun as well in terms of a little product experimentation and little fun elements while they're showcasing everything else. All right, guys, I'm Dimitri. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the Era 2 and which case are you most excited about, the Mood or the Era 2. All right, talk to you next one.